Welcome back to KTN Weekend. Thank you for staying with us, and it's time for Checkpoint. Tonight, we put the leadership of the capital city, Nairobi, in the spotlight. It is often said that strike the shepherd and scatter the flock, and the same can be said about this county. Its leaders have repeatedly been caught on camera for all the wrong reasons. In the past 2 weeks, the top elected representatives of the county have been in the news for their less than stellar ways to resolve conflicts. And then there was the just concluded industrial action by county officials, which literally exposed the rot in this county. Tonight, as I said, we're putting the leadership of the city on the spot with Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke, who is joining our Checkpoint panel today for the first time. He is second to my immediate right, so thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome, Anna. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Moses Kuria to my immediate right, Professor Edward Kisiang'ani he's in the black, and of course to the furthest corner is Professor Gitile Naituli. Professor, and you drove all the way from? Nakuru to be here for the show. We certainly do appreciate it. I want to come to you straight, Jonathan, and the fact that there is a problem with the leadership. Something doesn't seem quite right with the way elected officials in Nairobi County seem to behave is an open secret for Nairobians. I wonder if it's a position that you two would share, and in particular in regard with the latest behavior of your governor, Evans Kidero.
Well, when you say Nairobi leadership, I mean, I'm part of the Nairobi leadership.
Absolutely.
How do I behave?
Well, you're not the only leader, and I've cited the instance of Evans Kidero, who was caught on camera slapping Rachel Shebesh, the women's representative, who also has had questionable public conduct, I beg your pardon. And of course, there's a case of Senator Mike Sonko, his verbal attack on radio presenter Caroline Mutoko.
Yeah, well, yes, there's all that's been going around in the news. And leadership is a personal style, and people have different kinds of leadership. So I really wouldn't be in a position to talk about other leaders and their styles of leadership. What I know is my style as a leader and one of the top leaders in Nairobi. I have a different leadership and management style that I believe works for me. So I wouldn't really be in a position.
But you wouldn't say something seems amiss, including the situation of the slap?
Well, that, first of all, is being investigated by the police. I wasn't there. I really don't know what happened. I was in my office working. But, once the reports come out, the police, both from the Honorable Shebesh and Governor Evans Kidero, once that comes out, then we'll be able to see what really happened. I
think it's understandable that the deputy governor would take such a tone, and everyone is just nodding, sort of feeling for you being put on the spot like that. But that's what we do on Checkpoint. Let me come to you, Professor Kisiang'ani. What do you think is going on?
I'm shocked by what the governor is saying, and the fact that he still has confidence in the police, and he thinks the police will bring out the truth. Its house is burning. So it just shows how naive the leadership of Nairobi is. But
you're saying Jonathan seated next to you is being naive about the matter?
He's part of the leadership that is naive. He's telling us that the police will bring out the truth. How much have we learned from the police coming out? I think he should be creative enough to look for the truth elsewhere, not from the police. But what I would like to say about this leadership of Nairobi is this. I want to contextualize this leadership in the context of what happens across the country. Nairobi is the shrine of very many things. It is actually the shrine of mega corruption. It is the shrine of people who use blows, slap others. It is the home of corruption. It is the home of crime. It's the home of everything. You get everything here. If we want to fix the leadership of Nairobi, we must also think across the board as a nation. If we think that Mweke or Kidero will do it, they are just a reflection of what happens in this country, and it is the concern of everybody to fix the leadership of Nairobi. Once we fix the leadership of Nairobi, because it is a demonstration of what goes on in this country, then we shall fix the problems of Kenya.
Professor, I'll come back to that thought of how to fix it. Moses, I want to come to you because Jonathan here talked about different leadership styles. And it seems to get elected into office into Nairobi, you have to take a rather abrasive streak that is contrary to the kind of image that you want to portray of a regional hub and of the capital city. Must one play dirty politics, especially in Nairobi?
I don't think necessarily you have to play dirty politics. And Jonathan...
Or rough, combative... politics?
I mean, Jonathan has been very circumspect about the whole situation. In fact, he has said nothing,
But I'm not rough.
Yeah, he's talked a lot but said nothing.
You're not a rough guy, but you're surrounded by quote-unquote ruffians.
No, but let's look at it this way. We don't have one Nairobi. We have got 3 or 4 Nairobis. You move from one area to another, you find a completely different situation. And some of these things require some sort of understanding and some patience. Having said that, I want to, is it contextualize? Where? Is it? That is the word.
I know you have a short memory, so
yes.
he can't remember. So.
With the professor here, our vocabulary keeps on getting enriched every day. But let's look at it from the context of the reverse of the negativity that Professor Kisiang'ani has talked about. 60% of the GDP of this country is in Nairobi. Okay, 5 million people. 5 million people. Is it 5 million now? The population of Nairobi is shooting towards 5 million, which is almost the entire Singapore, Singapore, the state of Singapore, so that's major. The seat of government is in Nairobi. Our national airport, international airports are in Nairobi. Nairobi wants or is aspiring to be the financial hub, and yet so much damage has been done in the past. You look at the situation of the traffic jams, you look at the congestion, you look at our slums. These problems are almost insurmountable. And even when you talk about the likes of Kidero and Sonko and Shebesh, sometimes they behave the way they behave because it's actually mercurializing, It's the stress levels of how much they have to do within a very short period to fix all these problems, So because we are sitting on what I would call a county of opportunity, and the future of Kenya is going to be mirrored by the future of Nairobi. And if you look at Kidero, when I look at that footage, you see a man who is saying, "Excuse me, do you know how much stress I'm undergoing right now?" So I personally
ran for the seat. It wasn't going to be smooth sailing.
Absolutely. And I think public service is not as easy as you think.
You're sounding apologetic about this today, which is rather different from how you were last week. What's changed?
Slapping someone is bad. I'm just trying to contextualize, as Professor would say.
Is it? Yeah. All right, let me bring in Professor Gitila. What do you think? Is it, Moses, you've talked about having Nairobi, for lack of a better way of putting it, A, B, C, D, and E. Do you think that is what causes the kind of politicking that we see?
Actually not. I think there's an MP who was talking about something else, and he answered this question. He said, if the MPs are VIPs, then Kenyans are VIPs. That's what this MP was saying. People get a government that they deserve. It's all determined by something called collective consciousness. If our collective consciousness is low, we get charlatans for leaders. We attract them. And that's the situation right now. Because if you take that incident you described, both the Shebesh and Kidero failed the test of leadership. Shebesh didn't have to lead a crowd in a governor's office. She could simply have called the governor, make an appointment, and then go and put the case for her people to the governor. She didn't do that. Now, Kidero didn't have to be violent, because that is violence and is totally unexcusable. But it was very violent. And that is a bad role model for leadership. So what it is, and I think what the deputy governor should have accepted here, we have an extremely weak leadership. We have set very bad standards for leaders. We don't offer solutions. We criticize almost permanently. And he has refused to do that, I think, because I guess looking at him as a very reasonable man, I could see that. So there is a failure of leadership nationwide because our collective consciousness is low. Question is, how do we raise our collective consciousness so that we can raise our desiring abilities in order to attract good, committed leaders?
Jonathan, what do you think of what you've heard from the panel in terms of how they've described Nairobi's leadership?
Well, I think the bigger picture is just not being seen. When Dr. Kidero and I were elected, we were elected because of our ability to be able to manage. Nairobians went around across all 42 tribes and said, we don't want a politician. We want somebody with a track record who can bring Nairobi from where it is to a world-class city. The governor and myself are doing just exactly that. What concerns me, and this might be the reflection of the kind of society or culture we have, what concerns me is all the lovely plans we've put together for Nairobi, traffic decongestion, the upgrading of the hospitals, putting infrastructure of our roads and our street lights, you know, some of the youth activities we have with our rehabilitating all our social halls and so on and so forth. I mean, nobody's talking about the amount of water we have put in the informal settlement since we took office 6 months ago. You know, there are some people in areas like Huruma Estate who had never seen water since they were born and they're in standard 1. Now they've seen water and they think God has come. Yeah, but there's a lot of good things we've been able to do for Nairobi. Yeah, we expanded Nairobi's budget from the 9 billion last year. Now we are 25.4 billion. And all of this is taking resources to build Nairobi up into the city that it's supposed to be. And it concerns you
that it's not being seen?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in office now for about 6 months. Out of those 6 months, 5 months, we didn't even know if we were going to continue being in office because we had a petition. But nobody seems to be seeing some of the structures that we've put in place so that Nairobi actually begins to take off.
Moses?
So when we are being judged and I'm hearing poor leadership, weak leadership, I think it's absolutely wrong.
You know, politics is an important ingredient of managing a city like Nairobi. So you cannot discount politics. And I think Governor Kidero was on the right track when he was trying to reform, especially the workforce. You know, the issue of ghost workers has been there for a long time. And then he beat a hasty retreat on that. I mean, I do not think, I think to run the city of Nairobi effectively, you need some guts. And I had seen that in Kidero and Jonah here.
What retreat are you talking about?
But then, you know, when the pressure becomes too much, you find them retreating, and that's not how we're going to fix this.
No. Let's talk about like the ghost workers, right? You know, everything must be done through a system, and that's why Professor really concerned me here when he said, "How do you believe in the police?" But that is our system of security for this country. How do you not believe in the police? I mean, that statement in itself can send panic throughout the entire country. Everybody depends on the police for their security. How can you not believe in them? And where else do you go for a solution if you can't go to the police?
Prof, I'll let you put in a rejoinder before we move on.
Hold on a second. Now, on the ghost workers, yes, we did a preliminary HR audit, and yes, we found many people who we don't think work there. We found many people who have similar names, right? And we have that report, but you just don't act on it.
When will you act on it? What are you waiting on?
You have to verify. You know, our brothers, the people from Central Kenya, the Kikuyu community, because of the way they named culturally, they have similar names. So if you find 17 Moses couriers, you can't say 16 of them are ghosts. Right? So you have to go through the entire verification process. We have 11,100 employees.
Is this something that, hold on, Moses, hold on. Is this something that is time-bound for you? Is it something that's time-bound that we hope by this time we will have gone through that list and then can be able to fix the county?
Absolutely. In another 2 weeks or so, we'll do that. And actually, just because we didn't shout about it doesn't mean that we didn't act.
Okay,
the people
fair enough.
Who are not
Let's
counted,
give someone else a chance to speak. Professor Kisiang'ani.
I think it is shocking because the deputy governor himself, the real politician in him, has come out on the show. on this show, we don't discuss too much politics. We talk about facts as they are. Your leadership is incompetent. And the Nairobians, you can't go to the streets and keep singing that you have done this and such a thing in Roma. People have to see and feel that such a things have been done. I am a resident of this city. I'm seeing no movement in that direction. These piecemeal attempts to impress people, hold some small meetings and then laugh it off, and then tomorrow morning things are not working. This is not what we want from our leadership. You say the people of Nairobi really chose you people because you are good managers.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that is the case. They chose you because they don't know how to choose leaders. And since they don't know how to choose leaders, they don't know the criteria. I am one of the fellows who live in Nairobi. That is the reason why you are chosen. But if the people of Nairobi really sat down and thought about the kind of leadership they need, they would not have chosen you. They would not have chosen Kidero, because just 6 months later, we are not seeing any change. And part of the reason why I'm saying this is this. You, as the leadership of Nairobi, should be at the forefront. This is our capital city. Our capital city should be the example of what should happen in the rest of of Kenya. You should be bold enough to tell the President of the Republic that we need changes in the police force, we need these changes in the security. We haven't seen your time frame. We haven't seen your proposal about how to improve the city's security. It's not the work of the central government alone. What proposals have you done that we as citizens of this city have heard about and said, yes, these guys are working? I expect you to ask us for more money to run some affairs. You say you improved the budget. I think one of the problems you have is resources. You don't have enough resources. What are your fundraising procedures? What are you going to, how much are you going to raise?
Professor, I plead the fifth on his behalf because those were so many questions. I would love you to have an opportunity to address one by one.
And we are competent enough to address every one of those questions that Professor is answering. Yeah. First of all, he talks about we just go around doing things without facts. I mean, Rita, I can't have left my house, Anna, sorry, I can't have left my house to come to your show to talk about things that have really not happened. You know, Kenyans are not fools. All these things I'm saying we have done have actually been done. Others cannot really be done in
I think the concern, if I could rephrase the question, Professor Naitoli, I'll bring you in very shortly. If I could just kind of compact everything he has said. The concern among many residents, and I have a similar one because I am a Nairobi resident, is that while you may have intentions, we don't see them out there. We actually cannot say that this is the game plan for Nairobi, and we know so far as a county this is where we've reached. It's more worrying, as Moses put it, this is the capital city. What happens here will really set the beat for what happens across the country. And we don't see that pace or energy, if you like, from yourself and the governor, as opposed to perhaps the Machakos governor, who is always in the media doing 1, 2, or 3 things. There's some kind of lethargy.
I'll respond to that very easily. You see, in Nairobi, we're already a brand. We're the capital city of the country of Kenya.
A bad
of
brand.
of the Republic of Kenya, right? So we don't have to go start shouting all over the place that this is Nairobi, we are doing this, we are doing that. People already know Nairobi, right? Now, what concerns us, and actually this is an issue that we have again in Kenya, your plans for development for a nation or for a county of Nairobi is outlined in your budget, right? When we set up our development agenda in our budget saying we're going to put this much money to everything, because you can't do things out of the budget. You must put it in a budget, Professor. That's why budgets are important, right? They're not just budgets.
Don't emphasize that.
So we had to put everything we wanted to do in financial year 2013, 2014 in a budget. We put it in the newspaper. We invited Nairobians to come to County Hall and to Charter Hall to look at all our plans for Nairobi, to tell us, no, remove this, would rather this. It's called public participation in our new constitution. And we had less than 100 people. There's 5 million Nairobians during the day.
And less than 100
and
responded.
4 million during, we put it in all the dailies and said, hey, this is what we want to do as your leadership. And we had less than 100 people.
Nairobians have failed you?
Right. It's not Nairobians that have failed us. What I'm saying is, Professor should have come and said, I want to see A, B, C, D. Instead, he's coming here to say, you're doing nothing. We don't see anything. Well, if he had come when we called him to come, he'd see exactly what we are planning to do for
Professor
Nairobi.
Naitoli,
and it's a lot.
Yes, I think the problem that we are seeing emerging is a lack of appreciation of the changes that took place. A new team came. They were not in political process before, and they upset very deep-rooted corruption networks within the city without us a plan how to sustain that, because Kendero started extremely well. He impressed nearly everybody, okay? But in between here, you seem to have lost steam because you don't have a plan of sustaining what you initiated. And I think that is the lethargy that we are seeing right now.
And I think, Bwana Governor, if you move across the streets, do you think, my friend Kuria Honorable Kuria has said the stress levels are very high. Look at the transport.
That's why people are slapping each other.
How long does it take for you to fix the transport thing? There are so many cartels within Nairobi, and you are the governor of Nairobi. The public transport is really in a mess, total mess. Do you need the central government to do that for you?
No, we don't. Have you seen what we have done in the transport sector? Have you seen the new traffic lights that have come up? No. Have you seen the new CCTVs that have come up?
2 hours.
Have you seen all the roads that we have had designed with bus rapid transit?
The road was built by the central government.
I want to bring this conversation back on track, and I want to come back, I beg your pardon, I want to come back to you, Jonathan, because part of the problem with the city's image has been industrial action, which we just concluded. I believe you were part of the team that mediated that.
Yes.
But it persisted for such a long time, coinciding with a very high-profile state visit of Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan at a time when we want to sell the best face of the county. How much do you think it has cost us? I think it has come to something like 35 million in revenue, but in terms of attracting investment, global images of a city in rot, literally.
Yeah, I'll talk about that for a little bit. This, they were striking not because of salaries not paid. Our staff were striking because of a collective bargaining agreement that was signed in the beginning of 2013 between the county government, or the City Council of Nairobi then, and Ministry of Local Government. Which
you promised to deal with 2 months after you were elected.
Correct. And we did that. When we got elected, we actually put their pay raises in the budget. But what happened thereafter, and this is what a lot of the public does not know, is Nairobi had been allocated by the Commission of Revenue allocation 16.8 billion shillings. That got slashed to 9.8 billion shillings. Now, you know, we got sworn in on end of March. A month later, we put our budgets in. So by the time our budget had come in, we had budgeted on the amounts that we had been told. Then there was a fight between the Senate and the National Assembly, and the 258 billion for counties was slashed to 210. So we lost 48 billion. Out of that 48 billion, Nairobi lost 7 billion. Now, this new collective bargaining agreement is 300 million shillings extra a month. That's 3.6 billion shillings every year. That's money that was just swept from under our carpet when the money came from 258.
So you're basically saying it's not your fault. Somebody cut into your budget, there's nothing you could do about it.
We had budgeted for it. We knew we were getting 16.8 billion. It got slashed to 9.8 billion. So we had to say, hey, can you hold on? And that's what we told our workers. Hold on. Let us find ways of raising our revenue, and then we'll honor. So it was not if we would honor, it was when. But they got impatient and they went on strike.
Moses.
I think Jonah here is splitting hairs. You know, the big problem you're having in the city is that you have got a bloated workforce, and you know that. You have got ghost workers, and you know that. You know, starting now to say you want more money to feed the ghosts is not the solution. Because you know they are ghosts in the first place. Even if you get the extra 7 billion, it's better you take that 7 billion and use it on water or use it on roads.
But Moses, process. You have to follow process.
Fine.
So you do something, no problem, and then you culminate in another thing.
And the other thing, you know, the thing that, one of the things that the government of Nairobi is doing right is the close consultation and coordination with the national government, yeah, as provided for in the Constitution. That's when he's talking about security. That's something that you have to fix together.
What do you think it has cost us in terms of the image of the city, that we do not have a reliable workforce, or we do not have a coordinated county leadership system where investors can trust that they can come and conduct their business without it being disrupted by industrial action?
I think before the governor answers that, Anne, you have raised a very fundamental question about the image of our country. I expect the governor or the deputy governor to be the chief ambassador of Nairobi, talking on behalf of people of the city, receiving visitors at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and telling them that this is a good city, looking for places which could be trouble places and correcting things before visitors come here. Now, investors are here. The governor is stuck in the office. The deputy governor is stuck in the office. The city is burning. And now the next news you hear is one has slapped the other. This is, you guys have to employ a public relations firm and employ somebody to do public relations for you around the city. This is not what the people are looking forward to. I think this is, you should take it in a good stride and probably correct.
Professor Naituli, did we scare away investors, do you think, with that show?
I think we did. I think the city need to plan well, because that problem was not unforeseeable, was not an emergency. So the planning to deal with that should have been put in place so that when the situation comes, you can handle it according to the plans, existing plans. So they treated the CMBA as though it were an emergency, which it was not.
I think Professor here has mentioned something very important, and this is what I'm finding wrong with the way that your team is managing the city. Because of where we are coming from, and because of the importance of Nairobi, you have to pick some 1, 2, 3, 4 issues to do. Now you're trying to do everything. You know, those traffic lights you're mentioning, it's just numbering system. They're not working, and you find there's some traffic police down there stopping cars when it is green.
We don't even understand the numbers.
It's not working. It's just number. It's actually a waste. If you
Flashing.
The other day here, Nyayo Stadium here, you find city council workers stopping cars so that people can cross the road, and there's a footbridge right there. No, but that is not what is going to change this city. What is going to change this city? And I was with Governor Kidero in China, and he saw how modern cities work, even how cities are built from zero. And I think you have got, talking to you guys privately, you have got some wonderful plans. For example, the urban redevelopment of Eastlands, for example. But when you try to fix 25 things at the same time, it won't work. 2, you need political unity in Nairobi, because you are trying to solve some problems which are not necessarily popular with everyone. So beyond the slab, I think you need to sit down together with Sonko and Shebesh and work together, because you need
the way they did in the beginning.
Each other.
Because they did that in the beginning.
Professor, please hold on. Moses, please hold on, because I really want to. This is your first time on Checkpoint. By the way, this is how we are on Checkpoint, well. I want you to have an opportunity to respond to what I think each one of the panelists has said, that we need to, 1, very quickly clean up the image of the city, beginning with the leaders. And you're part of that leadership. How do you think we go about this? And how do you sell Nairobi to Nairobians who seem to be giving up on their own city? All of a sudden, Turkana with its water and oil, and Machakos and wherever are looking like good options in the next couple of years. How do you make Nairobi remain attractive, 1, to Nairobians, and 2, how do you make the city compete not just with Machakos and Turkana, but really with Tokyo, with New York, with DC?
You see, Anne, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because I've listened to the colleagues over here, and what I'm seeing is total lack of information, and I don't blame any one of you.
On whose part?
No, on their part. Like, for example, they don't know what the traffic lights mean, right? Now, just give me one.
And I hear rubbish.
No, I say no. I say that with a good faith. We're putting new traffic lights in 22 junctions, right? You have to install all the traffic lights in the 22 junctions and then synchronize them so that each junction knows what it's doing, and then put cameras that have number plate recognition to be able to see which cars are being naughty and which ones are following the law before you withdraw the police, right? That can't be done in a day. It's a process. So it will probably take another 3 or so months for that entire system to be installed and to work. My colleagues here want it now. Now, you said Turkana, Machakos, in a couple of years they'll be the place to move. A couple of years means 2 years. We've been in office for 6 months, and everybody wants Nairobi to work pop.
Because it hasn't worked for so long.
Right. Moses here, if he was a Nairobian, he should have read our manifesto, Dr. Kidero and myself's manifesto for Nairobi. We're not going to do 25 things. We're going to do 5 things.
We don't feel you.
Do you see what? So it's a lack of. It's a lack of
information. Now, who is supposed to give the information? Who is supposed to give
the information? But I can't force you to read it.
No. Wait.
We came on TV. We put it on the newspaper. We've called you for consultations, and if you don't come, I can't force you to read it.
If I were you, I would listen.
Gentlemen, please, one at a time. Professor Naituli.
Governor, we are in agreement. You have very good intentions.
Yeah.
We saw the unity between the Governor, Shebesh, and Sonko. When you were elected, we will work together.
Yes.
We are saying that in good intentions is not translating to action on the ground so that we can appreciate it. That's what we are saying. Reason we are saying we are not confronting the deep-rooted corruption networks strongly enough.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have succinct, clear plans of action that you communicate to us as the consumer to mobilize us to support you. We need your vision. And that vision needs to be an imprint on our psychology as Nairobians, so that we can support you. We are saying you are lacking in that.
Fair point. Professor, your final comments.
My final comment is, if I were the governor, I would listen more than talk, because when he makes noise, he misses very important points. He will not get this forum. The point is that Nairobi has very many challenges, and we don't think that you are going to fix them easily. One of the things that you have to do very quickly is to forge the alliances, the political unity that Kuria is talking about. This place has divisions. The tribal ethnic politics that we see in the villages has come here, and therefore you must unite our people here around issues so that we develop the city.
Moses, very briefly, your final comment.
I think that there was a lot of goodwill, as Professor Naituli has said, on the team of Kidero and Jonathan Mweke, and I think that goodwill it can still be cultivated. But I think the most important thing is that it is not our job to know about what is in your heart. I'm sure you have got good intentions, as you have said, but even hell will be full of people with good intentions. So what you need to do is to evangelize. You need to carry us with you. We need to feel you. We need to walk together. We need to know that, yes, we are going to put down the whole of Easterns and put high-rise apartments. That's something you need to tell us what we can support you and work with.
And I assure you that was not a sentence to hell for you. You're just very quickly, your final views. I think this is important feedback for you. Clearly, there's a disconnect between how much the city's residents know about what it is you're doing. And as he said, good intentions or not, people need action. Speak to Nairobi residents right now and tell them what exactly is your game plan and why should they continue to have faith in this city?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing, like you said, the disconnect is probably that we're not communicating enough. Because really, we came to Nairobi with seven promises. One was better healthcare. We have said 20 of the health centers have been upgraded. We have the money for it. We've already done quite a bit in Pumwani. We've put in a new ICU. We've put in three new theaters. We've donated ambulances to Pumwani. We said we are going to talk about security, so we are rebranding our council as in
Professor, please let the man have his final
few seconds. He talked about listening.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are talking very closely with the national government, as Moses said, to rebrand our Nairobi City Inspectorate to be Nairobi Metropolitan Police, so that we can actually begin to offer those services in a professional manner. We spoke about good governance, which of course we're doing. You heard we're one of the few counties that balanced our budget and spent all the money that we were given in March to June. We spoke about disability, the youth, the women. So all these things are things that we said we are doing, and we are actually doing it. So we probably just need to communicate a little more to Nairobians. And Nairobians give us some time. 6 months
Another
cannot
honeymoon,
change.
the one that
No,
Moses
it cannot
writes
change
about.
Nairobi to London in 6 months.
Forgive me.
It's not happened anywhere.
I must find you. Moses,
I'm very impressed.
No, Moses,
it took
please.
4 years to build Thika Road.
I thank you.
And
I thank you.
Done in 1 month.
In 1 month, it's not possible. Moses, please, I must wind up there. It's been more than 30 minutes. I want to thank you so much, Deputy Governor for Nairobi, Jonathan Mweke, for coming and sitting in our hot seat. You're a brave man to do so. We wish you well. Of course, Moses Kuria, Professor Edward Kisiang'ani, Professor Gitile Naituli, I thank you all. Have a lovely evening. Please don't go too far. I've got the sports news after these messages.